Do, 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 do. Boo, boo, boo. Well, we'll see if the internet is working today. I know the Northeast has got a little bit of a blackout. I'm coming to you from my phone today instead of my iPad, so sound will be a little less good than usually like. All right, yeah, a little bit slow on the numbers here. All right, so let me launch into it. This is going to be a short one. Most people will get to see it on replay. So I'm watching the news talk about insiders saying that President Trump was, quote, unglued and angry and he wanted a trade war. And then I'm hearing reports, this is MSNBC, and I'm hearing reports that he didn't consult with other departments and there are people ready to quit. And he's taking a huge hit for this, and the stock market might be down because of it, and all of this. So you know what all of that together means? It means he's doing exactly what he planned to do. Here's the key for negotiating, that you probably won't see this reported anywhere on the anti-Trump media. But the most effective negotiator in a situation like this is the one you believe is irrational and will take a larger hit than you think a normal person would. So a normal president would never start a trade war because a normal president would not want the blowback, would not want to be responsible for markets going down, would not want to be responsible for maybe some industry does well, but other industries do poorly because of the trade war, would not want to, take the reputational hit and all those things. So in order for President Trump to be successful in negotiating, the very first thing he has to do is set the table. He talks about this all the time. And what we've watched is that he has successfully set the table by showing that he's doing this irrationally. Right? Now I know that the people, it's already starting, the people who are going to call me the Trump apologist who ties himself into a pretzel to find any way that the president is actually doing the right things and strategy instead of the crazy things he's just crazy, right? But I'll offer you this challenge. Find somebody who is an expert negotiator and fact check me. Who is the better negotiator? The one who acts reasonable or the one who acts unreasonable? It's a very simple question. You can fact check this. Talk to the best negotiators you know and say, how do you do if you go into a negotiation as the most reasonable person who doesn't want anything bad to happen? You don't do well, all right? Because the other side knows you're not going to push too far. The other side knows going in that you have a limit on how far you will push them, so they don't have to give you anything. Now instead of that cautious person, imagine that you have an irrational president going in, and you don't know what he's going to do. You don't know how much of a punchback he's willing to take. You don't know how much trouble he's willing to stir up. You just don't know how far he's willing to go. Which of those two gets you a better result? Now, none of this is to predict that the trade war will go well. All right, that's actually something nobody can really predict. But if you're telling me that his somewhat irrational approach to this, or at least the way he's presented it, is being irrational, if you think that's a mistake, I would ask you to fact check it with anybody who understands negotiation. I can tell you from my own business negotiations that because I'm somewhat famously rational, in other words, anybody who knows me knows that I'm going to look at both sides, I'm going to look for the data, and that's a terrible way to go into a negotiation. So when I go into a negotiation that really matters, I make sure that whoever's on the other side knows that in this particular case, I am not rational. That I'm going in with, some emotion and that the emotion must be satisfied, not just the facts. In other words, if you want to deal with me, you're going to have to take care of my crazy part as well as my rational part. So I bring both of them to the negotiations. So you're saying Trump knows what he is doing. BS. I will tell you for sure that Trump knows the following thing, that the person in the negotiation who is willing to go the farthest and take the most pain to get a good result does do a better job. And he's just demonstrating that right now. He's demonstrating that he doesn't care if his American advisors tell him to do it. He doesn't care if people are threatening to quit over it. He doesn't care that our allies don't like it. He doesn't care that some companies will be injured even if some are helped. He doesn't care that it will spark bigger trade wars. He doesn't care that it will hurt us with our foreign cooperation. He's going in here telling you he doesn't care about any of that. Now, if you're saying a rational person should care about all those things, that's the point. He's bringing irrationality into the conversation because it works. And, if this were the only thing I'd ever talked about Trump doing, I think you could be skeptical and say, well, that's convenient that doing everything wrong is, you're saying, looks like the smart thing. That's very convenient. But if you watch how often he does this, you can see the consistency. Remember when he started talking about finding the middle on guns? What did he say about the NRA? He goes, don't worry about the NRA. I'll take the heat. Same play. It's the same play. He's telling you that he will go farther than a normal person would go in the same situation. He's saying, I don't care about the NRA. I'll push him. I'll take the heat.
16.
That was farther than any Republican has ever gone. And so once he's established that, it gives him more power and more flexibility for, yeah, I do have a propeller on my head, don't I? Gives him more flexibility. So I would also suggest the following. So many top advisors are saying, don't do this, reportedly. We don't know if that's really happening, but supposedly Gary Cohn doesn't like it. Maybe Mattis doesn't like it. We don't know this for sure. These are just reports. But let's say that's true. Let me take you back in time to 2015. Imagine President Trump going to any of his advisors who are now telling him not to have a trade war. So I don't know if that's Gary Cohn. I'm not sure if that's Mattis, but let's say it is. And let's say he said, let me give you my plan for winning the presidency. And they go, great, what is it? Is it to do all the standard things that everybody always does? And then candidate Trump in 2015, just hypothetically, says to them, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to completely take over the news cycle. I'm going to say things that may not be true. I'm going to be saying things that will make sure that I suck all the energy out of the room, and on and on. He might say, look, a big key to my winning is I'm going to give people funny nicknames. Imagine in 2015 if he had described the technique he was going to use to win the presidency to any reasonable person. All right? No reasonable person could have heard ahead of time, this is how I'm going to win, this is what I'm going to do, and thought that made any sense at all. But I think people who had a background in persuasion might have been a little bit more sensitive to the fact that this was a reasonable plan. Now, there was a lot of, obviously, a lot of changes that happened and a lot of just responding to situations. But in terms of his general approach to things, had he described his approach to anyone ahead of time, no one would have thought it was a good deal. Now let's look at, let's take a look at guns. Had you told me a Republican president is going to go against the NRA in a public setting so that nobody could miss it, I would have said to you, well, that doesn't sound like something a Republican's going to do. And then he did it. And it looks like it might be a brilliant move. Likewise, with this trade war stuff, it doesn't surprise me that no one who kind of understands the persuasion field would look at this and think it's a good idea. It doesn't surprise me that ordinary, smart, well-experienced professionals do not think this is a good idea. That should not be a surprise. But that's very different from it not being a good idea. There are simply some tools that this president makes available to himself, quite intentionally, that other people don't. So he just has more tools, and we'll see if that's enough. So we can't know at this point whether the trade deal goes well or doesn't go well, but the people who are saying that it is strategically thoughtless do not understand persuasion, do not understand negotiating, and do not understand that when MSNBC reports that he's being unglued and irrational about his trade wars, that is helping him very much. Maybe not politically, but it would certainly help in the negotiations, because people are going to be going into those negotiations thinking, damn, he can't even be reasonable about this. We can't even scare him with threats of a retaliation because he's just not being rational. He just has some reason he wants this. That's exactly what you want the other side to think, because that will inform what they offer. All right, that's enough for today. I got to go do some stuff, and I'll talk to you all later.